interview with Dominique, and excited to get into this book. I haven't read in a while, but I think we'll start tonight. Welcome everybody, welcome Facebook Live. If you're tuning in, you've been here before, welcome, good to see you, good to have you back. We are in studio with our second guest and our personal story, Ryan F. Keeping the anonymity there for you. Ryan F. But everybody on Facebook probably knows exactly who you are. It's really not anonymous if your face is visible.
Yeah, social media has changed the game for sure.
Well, but if you want to say your last name, that's up to you. Well, every week we get into a personal story, somebody's own journey, somebody's, where they came from, and what they're doing in their life right now, the things that helped, the things that didn't. So why don't you just start with a little background, like where you're from, what was it like?
So my name's Ryan, and cleared that. There we go. Said not to ignore the mic. Let's see, so I grew up in the Vancouver area. I grew up in Port Coquitlam. Living in Vancouver most of my adult life, just till I moved to New West. But I don't know, a little about me. I guess I didn't really start something interesting with my story. I didn't really start at a young age. I didn't really drink or use too much in high school. I wasn't really interested in that sort of thing. It wasn't until I was a bit older, but the second that I did start using, I think I knew immediately that I didn't use or consume alcohol like a normal person. The way it made me feel after was just like way too good, and the obsession was like right there immediately. So I think I knew right away I was a little over the top, but I don't know, at that time, I guess it wasn't like I was, 30. I was probably about 18 before I really started getting into it and getting into drugs, and everything sort of all came at once. As soon as I felt one thing, I'm like, I want to try this and like experience this and like get this high and see what this high is all about. So I started going pretty fast, and at that age, it still was like somewhat acceptable because you're just partying and having fun and having a social life. But then it just never really stopped, and then all of a sudden, it's like 10 years have gone by, and all my other friends are like going through school, having good careers, buying houses, getting married, and I'm still there just stuck, like moving from job to job, not really getting anywhere in my life.
So, I mean, you say that like, you're watching your friends be quote unquote normal, do the, what you're supposed to do, college, career, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And you're prioritizing partying and consumption and
absolutely,
like the FOMO situation, right?
Yeah.
Do you ever think like why you? Did you have some messed up gene? Did something go on? Did you have some insecurities?
I don't know. I found out after I got clean, there's a lot of things that made me cope with using more. Like I've just always had low self-esteem all my life. I just really never felt too comfortable figuring out who I was until I just started numbing myself, and then I was content with the person that I was. But looking back, I think it is a genetic thing as well. Like I know in my family there's been some issues with my sisters in the program as well, and through our father. And I remember at a younger age too, my dad would sort of talk to us about that sort of thing, like, be careful, his father was a big drinker and this and that, so it is in our family. But then I remember sort of just brushing it off and justifying it, because I didn't really see anybody doing anything about the problem. It's just like a warning, like, well, look out for it, not like, this is what's going to happen, you need to, figure out a way to stop or do something about it. It was just like, yeah.
Well, I mean, I remember high school, like, thinking back, I mean, it's tough. Like, I think that's some of the hardest parts of life is, those first social groups that you're supposed to belong to don't really feel like you do. Other friends that you never really cared about how they dressed or the music they listened to. Now it's sort of, the rockers are going over there and the jocks and, you know what I mean? I remember sort of being like, what's my identity? Like, what group am I supposed to go into? And I remember that was the very first time feeling like there's something wrong with me because I don't know, because I'm uncertain, right? And, also high school is going to come along with experimentation and like you said, people having fun, having the party. Okay, so you realize you're a little bit different as far as the using goes. What were you using at that time? Like,
Well, I was a big drinker, constantly. So as soon as I started experimenting with weed, I went to some other psychedelics, and then, like I said, just when things were sort of brought to my table or attention, I was like, yeah, I'll definitely give that a shot. Like, if this makes me feel good, and this is supposed to be, better than that, then yeah, let's give it a go. So, but in the long run, my biggest one was just cocaine and alcohol, and that was pretty steady. I remember, from about like the age of 18, it all sort of came at once and just kept consistent.
You try everything, and then it seems to narrow down to just a combination that just works perfectly, right?
Yeah,
a little,
exactly.
little down, from the alcohol and some up from the cocaine. It makes perfect sense to me. Makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
So how long did you go, before there was any notion of people concerned, or a boss concerned, or it messing up anything?
Probably, I think, let's see, I got clean when I was 28, turned 29. Probably until I was about like 26, 27. If I look back and like really pay attention to it, there was some hints and signals and things. There was actually there was one opportunity that I had when I was fairly young. I think I was about 19, and I worked with a guy that was in the program. He was in AA. He brought me to a meeting because I would always be late for work, and I'd always show up still like reeking like booze and missing days here and there. And he's like, "Man, you drink way too much. Like, I'm gonna bring you to this meeting." He brought me to an AA meeting, and I thought, I just looked at him like, oh, he's just boring and is sorry for his own life, so he needs to bring other people down. And I went to this meeting, and I just was not willing to hear anything. And I remember thinking after I left that, I'm like, that was the worst experience of my life.
Never going
I'm
back
never,
there again.
ever going to be like these people. I'm not like you. I'm not ever going to be like you.
I said the same thing,
Yeah.
and somebody
Yeah.
dragged me to a meeting, man.
Yeah.
I was like, this is not ever going to happen again. and literally, it was like, I had to keep the secret even more, because if that's where I'm going to go,
Yeah, exactly.
then I got to go real underground with this.
Yeah, I got to maintain this or figure it out. Like, I don't want to resort to that. But, there
Hard to,
Sorry.
carry that off as anything other than, like, I'm 19 years old. I'm just, I'm supposed to
Yeah,
be
exactly.
living like this, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so a guy at work notices something.
Yeah.
Did you folks notice anything? Did they know how to...
There'd be the odd time when they just talk, but like I said, I think my father drank quite a bit as well, so I think they were a little nervous, like contradicting themselves, and I would always sort of look at it like, how can you tell me to do this when you're not even doing this, right? So, I don't know, I think I didn't really hear too much from my parents, but I heard a lot from work, from friends, not just about drinking, just about like different struggles that I had in life, like when I found out I was a father and stuff like that. Like, you find out you're in addiction, and I was just not willing to manage or accept that idea. So things like that, people would be like, man, like, you alright? Like, you need some help, or figure something out. But
Yeah, no, I got cocaine and alcohol to
yeah,
get through this one, right?
I'm good. Yeah.
Yeah. So did that news, knowing that you weren't sort of in the place of handling that type of responsibility, did that...
I wished it did. I hoped it did, but and I truly thought it would, because like when I grew up, I didn't grow up in a bad way. I grew up with a loving family, lots of friends, really social, and I didn't really get into the scene until quite later. So I had a pretty good childhood. Was a pretty happy kid, and grew up with a lot of morals. Like, I was really polite, hated getting in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
So I still had a lot of these morals intact, and I was like, finally, like, hey, I'm responsible for a kid now. I'm a father. This is what it's gonna be. That's gonna make me snap out of this, reckless way of life, and
Right.
my maturity's gonna kick in
It's
now.
going to mature you.
Yeah, it's all gonna work out. But unfortunately, it just doesn't work like that. Like, I slowed down a bit. I was careful at first, but then once you cross so many lines, just gets easier to cross them again and easier to cross them again, and next thing you know, you're right back where you were, but with like a 2-year-old girl in your care, right? So
And now that all, that whole emotional state coming in, right?
yeah, because it's still in the back of your head. Like I said, you have those morals intact. So I'm just new to myself. I'm like, this isn't right. Like, this isn't what I'm supposed to be doing. This isn't who I'm supposed to be. Like, this isn't cool whatsoever. Yet I can't stop. I can't put my daughter in front of my addiction. I'd always put the drugs first.
Did you must have tried to stop?
Not very hard. I try a bit, or like, mess something up, or get in a bad fight with my girlfriend, or wake up like, oh, what did I do? Missed work, or got fired from another job, and be like, okay, that's it. This is the last time.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna do it again. And I'd stop for maybe a day or two, but for me, I'd always look at that like such an accomplishment, such a win, that I don't even have a problem, and I need to treat myself, and I deserve
The
a
reward
little
system,
reward.
yeah.
And it just, and then I go back to right where I left off again, like, oh crap, okay, gotta stop this time. And days go by, you feel a bit better, show up to work, get a new job, sweet, things are good again. I can go back to the way things were, and I'll come crashing down again pretty quick.
Typical cycle story, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
So what was the bottom?
The bottom was, for me, was like I did end up losing quite a few jobs, but I was pretty good at keeping a job and fairly skilled at what I do for work, and I think it was in 1 year I ended up going between 3 different jobs, and I'm like, this isn't right. I'm pinching pennies more than normal, and can't afford this. I just lost my license, and I was just at the point where so many things were going wrong in my life. It just led me to use so obsessively, to the point that it just progressed so quick over a couple of years that I wake up every morning and I just have to use, and all I could think about was just using. I'd show up to work when I did have work, still loaded, or have to drink or something in the morning just to get me there. And it just took everything from my life away. It took all the passion I had, all the hobbies I had, all the skills that I had, like everything from me. My entire being was just that obsession. And I remember just thinking, like, this just sucks. Like, I hate living my life. I absolutely hate my life right now. I hate the way I feel. I hate this is all I want to do. Like, this isn't who I intended to be when I grew up. This isn't what I knew I'm capable of and what I'm worth. Like, I always had hobbies, always had interests. Like, I loved, like, being outside or skateboarding or cooking, and just none of that cared to me anymore. All I cared about was just getting loaded and being alone.
Yeah, like those moments where life is it wasn't supposed to turn out this way.
It was not supposed to turn out like that.
And when you have those moments, it's almost impossible to phone someone and admit that.
Yeah.
Like, to be the person to make an appointment with your doctor, or phone a helpline, or reach out. It's almost an impossibility, as a man, as an adult, as, someone that knows you should be better and you can do better, like, to actually reach out for help. So what happened? What got in the way?
Well, the girl I was dating at the time, despite, like, what a monster and a terror I was to her, I guess, like, I was fairly close with her mom and, like, her family a bit through. We dated a while, and her mom was one of the people that would always reach out to me and talk to me and see something more in me, despite the way I behaved and the way I treated people. And I guess she was neighbors with a counselor at the treatment center that I went to, so she'd always unload all this crap to him and be like, oh, our daughter's dating this guy, he's such a prick and an asshole, but I know he's a good guy deep down inside, and good dad, but he's just so effed up, right? So she would get tips from him and sort of approach me in a way that I would actually, like, listen and pay attention to her. And my friend said anything, my brother said anything, anybody else said anything, I'm like, no, you guys are wrong, or I'd just fly under the radar, disappear, get new friends, not talk to anyone. But for some reason with her, I'd listen and be like, yeah, you're right, I really do have a problem, I do gotta figure this out. And then it came to the point of me, like, admitting that, and I got that instant relief, like, okay, I'm admitting it. But then with that relief came like sort of like, I thought it was like a get out of jail free card. So it took me, like, after admitting that I have a problem and I need the best way, the only way I'm probably going to be able to do anything about it is to go to treatment or something like that. As soon as I admitted that, I don't know, I just looked at it like, sweet, well, no, I'm telling you guys I'm an addict, I need help, so you can't really get mad at me for this.
And now you can leave me alone.
Yeah, so I went off for another 6 months, and this and that, in and out, and still she never bothered me, and so, like, you said you're going, just kept gently reminding me, you sure, and no, I think things are okay, I'm actually good now, things are good, I don't need it. And then I went on, I remember one things were bad, like fighting a lot with my girlfriend that I lived with, and just lost my job, and I was just flying under the radar, ignoring people, my brother, sister, family members. And I went off on one bender for probably about 4 or 5 days, just not at home, and did my thing. And then I remember coming home and just being so excited to get some sleep and just like stay in my own house. And I came home that Sunday night. My girlfriend was there with her father-in-law, and he was consoling her. She was all concerned, and you know, I was just like, oh yeah, I'm here, whatever. Like, leave me alone. I'm back. Just let me go to bed. And I was so excited the next morning to wake up and like have the house to myself because I knew she had to go to work, and I'm like had some leftover stuff. I'm like, this is gonna be a great morning. Back in my house, just sit on my own couch, and no one's here to bother me. And then the mom's boyfriend came and knocked on my door when I was outside rolling a joint actually, and had a bottle of this in on there and some stuff on the table, and he sat down with me and had to talk, and he's like, well, it looks like you got your morning planned out, but you know, we called this place you said you're going to go to a while ago, and if you want to come check it out, you know, you can just come in for a tour. And I was like, I don't know, like still have this stuff to do. And and he's like, you know, he sat with me and had a good talk with me about like what kind of a father I'm being, and like what my potential is, and how he still has resentment with his father for his like drinking and, you know, neglect and stuff like that. So it really broke me down and hit me in the spot. Like I don't know, that was always a sensitive topic for me, or subject for me when I thought about that. Or like some of my biggest fights with the girlfriend at the time would be like when she talked about me not being a good dad and stuff. So when someone talked to me one-on-one about that, I was like, yeah, you know, you're right, like my daughter does deserve better, and I do need to step it up. So all right, let's go check this place out. And then I was just told it was a tour, so I thought let's just get a tour, and then I come right back
I'll
home.
leave this stuff here, I'll come back.
Yeah, exactly. And then that was it.
Hijacked.
Like, yeah, exactly. So I went there for a tour, and then they showed me to my room and didn't let me leave. But yeah, I was talking to Jordan outside, and it was like I always knew deep down in the back of my head, like through my own thinking, like the problem that I have is serious. I know it's not right, and I know no matter how much I tried to do it by myself and figure out, it just wasn't working, and the only way I'd be able to get my life back was going to treatment and like actually doing something on a problem. But it's so scary to let go of that addiction, to think about living without drugs and alcohol. So the second like I got in the door and said, okay, I guess I'm doing this, then it was like 100% willingness, and like let's do this. So
Wow, hey, like wasn't gonna get to that spot.
no.
Like based on your plan,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Benders and come home for relief, and everybody just leave me alone, and it'll be different. And I mean, sometimes I don't know. I think sometimes our human rights need to be intervened on. You know what I mean? Even as adult men, fathers, you know, career men, whatever. Like you're going to make a decision that could potentially. Well, if it doesn't kill you, at worst, it's going to be another 6 months, another year, another 3 years of the same old stuff to when your daughter is old enough to say, I don't want to see you anymore. And, you know, like everything's...
Remember some of the chaos, right? Like she was 2 when I came in, so I don't think she has to remember or will remember any of the stuff that I put her through, like the kind of father I was being.
Well, even if she does it, you can replace it with so much more from this point on, right? So that was how long ago?
2 years, just over 2 years. My clean date's September 13th, so September 12th was my first day in treatment. Yeah.
So it's been 2 years with now a 30 and she's now 4.
She's 5 now.
5 now.
Yeah.
Right on.
So she turned 3 when I was there, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what's daddying now like?
Oh, it's great. It's awesome. It's like that's by far one of the best relationships I ever got, and it was something for me. Like I didn't realize what I was missing out on, right? Like I even thought to myself, because I had her often, that I was a good dad, that I was present. Like that's all they really need. Like I didn't realize like how much I was lacking and how much I was missing out on. Like it's such a blast right now, and my relationship with her is just like through the roof. Like talking like pretty soon here, I'm going to be moving back to Poco and working with the mom to be able to get her like 50% of the time and just be there a lot more. And yeah, I don't know. It's something like one of my favorite experiences, like the first real spiritual awakening I think I had in this program was like when I got to see my daughter for the first time after being clean, and like realizing what I missed out on. And it was like I was like 30 days into the program, and in my head told me all she remembers is what I remember, and it was like a lot of yelling, a lot of fighting in front of her, a lot of screaming, a lot of her crying, asking me to stop yelling. And I'm like, man, she must hate me, like I'm such a monster, like I don't know what she's gonna think of me, and she's probably not even gonna care about me. And then when I saw her for the first time in 30 days, like I remember going up to the door where I was meeting her at, and she just came running over, like, daddy, 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 like so happy to see me, gave me a big hug, and just like that feeling alone was like, wow, like
Yeah.
I've been missing out on it. Like that feeling alone was better than any high I've ever had. Like, and now it's just like gets better and better every day. Right, my relationship's just phenomenal today. So.
Is it?
Wow, it's like what are they, like goosebumps? Like goosebumps when you're talking about that. I want to ask a quick question. Do you think that people need more like training, like how someone was able to talk to you and really be able to, I don't know, like I have so many friends that their family members are struggling with addiction and that sort of thing, and they want to help, and it's like, you know, you hear the tough love message, and you know, then you hear this message from you today about just being that, like, almost like that soft, gentle, like, hey, like, you can be better, you know, like,
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be this way, and like, I believe in you.
Yeah. Well, I think for me, that worked with where I was at, like the stage that I was at, where I was already in such self-pity and feeling so low and sorry for myself and so hopeless, worthless, and just a loser, and I didn't want to be that guy. So that sort of sympathy really helped in the place that I was, but I could see that going the opposite direction earlier on, like totally like, yeah, sure, be nice to me, I'm still gonna go be a jerk and whatever. But I don't know. For me, I think I could have benefited from this program so long ago and benefited from being clean so long ago, but I think I minimized my problem a lot as well. So I wasn't on the streets, I wasn't using certain drugs a certain way, and you know, I don't really need recovery. And I think, I don't know, I think if someone showed me what the life that I could have gotten, and if I seen it firsthand, maybe it would have been given, or I would have been given a better shot when I was younger. But I never even heard about recovery. I didn't know anything about the 12 steps. I didn't know anything about anything until she sort of talked to me about her neighbor.
And then you still don't know much about anything, right?
No,
like,
it's still...
And you still, you know, even 30 days into treatment, you still don't know a whole lot, you know, but what you do start to realize is that your mind was sick.
Yeah.
Right? And that sick mind was never going to make the appropriate and realistic decision. And, you know, now I'm really messing things up, and I can see the consequence coming tomorrow. So, you know what, I'm going to give that guy, like, it doesn't work like that.
No, it does not.
And sometimes it's a like drag you out of the house, you know, with every consequence. You're not seeing your daughter, you know, here's the divorce papers, like as much as you can to push and get movement to that individual. It's just so fortunate that it was like just the right approach was taking. It was like, you know, Dominique's conversation with the doctor, you know, just they said the right things and didn't push so much, but were demanding, and, you know, like, yo, hey, you got the daughter, like, you know, this, and it sort of met with your morality at the time, right?
Yeah.
Like, you couldn't argue with that.
Yeah.
Right? So what is it that you learned that, call it recovery, or just maybe something you didn't know before, that's allowed you to live clean and want to continue that?
I don't know, that's a tough one. Like, I always thought abstinence was what recovery looked like. I didn't think you'd get to do all this work on yourself. Like I said, like I had low self-esteem, so I had a lot of issues with myself growing up. So recovery and doing the 12 steps and doing the work sort of made me into a comfortable person where, you know, you look at using was just a symptom of the way I behaved, right? So now, I don't know, like, life's good today. I'm happy, I'm confident, I'm comfortable, and I don't know. I didn't think that's what I would get from recovery. I thought they would, like, honestly thought going to treatment would be strapped to a bed and brainwash me and, like, hypnotize me to not like drugs so much.
Right on, man. Hey, Ryan, that's an amazing story. Thank you so much for coming in and sharing with us.
My pleasure.
There's hope, man. There's hope out there. If you don't think it's that bad, you know, let someone talk to you.
Yeah.
Let someone talk to you.
That was the best description of treatment ever.
Right?
Shock
therapy.
Strap you to a bed so that you don't like drugs anymore. That's awesome. It's like you like life more. You like yourself more than drugs. That's really what happens.
Yeah.
Stay tuned to World Poetry Cafe. We got to get out of the studio, everybody. Thanks for listening to Talk Recovery.